Welcome to another edition of Coffee and Uchiokeke. I am Salma Uchiokeke, and it's a pleasure to share this time with you. Today, we are joined by Isaac Seton, also known as Navide Sai, a creative visionary, project manager, and performing artist whose work moves between the worlds of business and the arts. Isaac holds a degree in history and international studies and has pursued further qualifications in project management and CRM. His professional journey has led him through consulting, fashion, and real estate, where he built meaningful connections with clients and partners while driving growth and opportunity. At the same time, he is recognized as Navide Sai, a performing artist whose music has been heard from Nigeria to the United States. His path is defined by a rare ability to bring strategic discipline and imaginative insight together, transforming bold ideas into tangible achievements. In this conversation, we will explore the role of creativity in shaping both art and enterprise, reflect on identity and innovation, and consider how the enduring vision of Professor Uchiokeke continues to guide and inspire a new generation of Nigerian creatives. Welcome, Isaac.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we can jump right. What does creativity actually mean to you beyond the act of making art, whatever kind of art you do make, and how does it shape the way you live, work, and build?
Creativity is beyond just art. It's the birth of your mind. It's the birth of your thoughts. If it's creating art, if it's thinking of an idea for a business, if it's whatever that's able to bring up something, an innovation, something that is outstanding, something that's new, that's fresh, that has a twist to it. That's what creativity is to me. It's not just in a bracket of art.
And how does it shape the way you live, work, and build?
It's become more of a principle for me. It's now a thing of trying to get the next best thing, putting time and effort into myself, putting time and effort into the way I'm able to think and connect with myself, my mind, my thought process. Because in whatever field, with my creativity, with my business parts, project management, I try to internalize a lot to be able to bring out something, because I personally have this principle. It's a whatever you put in yourself is what you'll be able to bring out.
So creativity for you is
Yeah.
it starts from your own development. It starts
Exactly.
from your own exposure. It starts from within how you are building yourself. And I mean that is your philosophy. And this has been going on for a long time. When do you begin to think in this particular way? Do you have any recollection of when?
Oh, okay. So if I'm trying to pinpoint a particular time, I'd say I can't really put it, but it's like over the course of growth of the past 3 years, 3, 4, 5 years, I've just kind of embodied that. And recently, like a year, 2 years ago, was when I really sat down and thought about it. And I saw these were things that were already guiding how I did things already, but I kind of figured it out around like 3 years ago, 2, 3 years ago.
And became deliberate about doing it in that particular way. I've known you for quite a while, and it's funny because I would say that this kind of attitude had started right from when you were quite little, and it has been a real pleasure to see how it has kept evolving, and you have remained true to the cause, so to speak. Would you say that is a generational thing for people from your generation particularly?
Yes, I would, but at the same time, I tried to think about it, the whole trend on the whole Gen Z thing. I feel like it's a person thing also at the same time. Yes, we have a lot of people in my generation that think this way, because I personally think this generation, we have a very strong voice. That's why you can see there's a lot of noise about Gen Z and everything. So I think because of the voice we have, it's very evident, right? But I think honestly, it's a person thing. I think in almost every generation, you'd see people like that just as loud about it. Generally, I'd say it's also It's a Gen Z thing.
And in terms of having that voice, is it amplified with technology? For instance, just think back a couple more years. If people were thinking that way, would it be that obvious as a whole group, so to speak?
It's like people shouting and then using a microphone to shout, that kind of thing. So it makes the noise more evident, if I may say so.
And has a kind of ripple effect in the terms of that you could have quite several people that are shaping up in that way, living, working, and building. As both a creative and someone engaged in business, how do you balance personal expression with strategy and long-term sustainability?
It's a merger. Let me break it down. My creativity starts almost all my projects. Everything I do, music, business, whatever, I have to imagine my outcome. I have to put some thought to it. I have to paint a picture in my mind of whatever I want to do, what my end goal is. That's where I said the birth of your mind. And then after all that, for you to put a direction to it, my strategy comes in. So essentially, for me, it's a combination. This is literally who I am, a combination of creativity and strategy. So my strategy gives more of a direction, my creativity births the thoughts. And this is something I would also, I've tried to, every creative I also come across with, I try to encourage this because a lot of people have this ability to also be strategic, but they just don't, especially creatives in my generation, they don't take time to try to learn strategy, to put direction into the creativity because creatives, you can be chaotic. You have like ideas every day, or you just have like five bursts of, and you're like excited for it. But if you don't sit down and put some critical thought into it, you don't sit down to put some direction into it, it will all just be scattered. That's why some people find it very hard to move forward in both the creative space and the business space. It's something I had to learn the hard way. And but then I'm learning it pretty early. So I also think I'm actually grateful for that. But essentially, I think it's something that works together. And this is one thing that creatives all across the world and my generation especially should try to inculcate because it just makes the whole product, the merchandise product of each one of us more valuable.
So you're a 22-year-old and you have learned these life lessons, as you said, pretty early. Could you take us through maybe some critical moments that brought you to this balance between creativity and strategy and long-term sustainability, which I'm sure you're still working on in terms of the sustainability?
I think everything has been due to people I've met across my journey, to be honest. I mean, I've met a lot of other mentors, people like Professor Uche Okeke that have also tried to study and check some of these things. And I've kind of been involved in several businesses and see how they work, startups, businesses generally, and also being in the creative space. So having the combination of all these different things in this time frame, it has just opened my eyes to see things a bit differently. If you met me a couple years ago, I would have told you I'm not doing any other thing but music. Honestly, I would not have even been open to any conversation outside music or creativity because I'm not going to be in the office for any reason. I'm not going to sit down to do any other thing. All I wanted to do with my life was music. But with time, I've learned to grow and open to more opportunities. And now I think I've been able to get my true identity. Although I'm still growing and I know it's still going to keep evolving, but my identity is beyond just one thing, but cuts across several things.
And that's all part of your creative journey. I mean,
Exactly.
how you're evolving and how that there's a whole lot more shaping up. It's funny, but back in the day, you were all about creativity. I
Yeah.
remember, which was quite a riot, so to speak. But that was just you, and it's quite interesting. Is there anything that triggered you towards strategy and sustainability, for instance?
I would say is having to be in leadership positions. I remember in school, university, that I had to be a welfare director and the senate president for my department. And from there, I just discovered a whole part of me that I didn't even know existed. Even going for those positions was not something I really intended on doing. It just happened. To be honest, people just pushed me to it. And I'm like, "What, let me just try something new." And I remember that period we used to talk a lot and you used to tell me, try new things. That's the whole point. try new things, enjoy the journey. That's the whole point of the journey. And if I stayed in my bracket, if I stayed in my little circle, I would never have discovered this part. So I from there I just knew, okay, leadership was something I wanted to go into. I kind of always had it in mind that I wanted to be a business person since secondary school, but it was never like the main thing. And I was still thinking the aspect of music. Okay, I'll get to a certain point where I have a label and this and that and that. But doing those kind of extracurricular activities in school and wherever just kind of opens your mind to other possibilities. Talking to people from different and diverse organizations, industries, you just realize that there's more to life outside this. Everybody has a lot of things going for them. You don't need to follow one path that every other person has followed. You can make a path for yourself.
I remember that by the time you knew Uche Okeke, he was already not quite well, so you didn't meet him vibrant, and you were just little, maybe like 6 years. Did you form any impression of him at that time, by any chance?
At that time, I just felt he was a very nice old man. Yes, you could also see and feel the amount of good energy he had, and because he was very warm. Without saying a word, you could just feel comfortable around him, and he still was able to show happiness, smile occasionally, look at you, curiosity and everything. Some people you meet them, no banter to any other person, but some people you meet them and in that kind of situation, you just feel a bit of fear as a child. But for him, it was more like you just want to play with him. You just because he's just warm, that kind of thing. So for me, it was just how good natured he was at that time. But after like growing a bit more, I think what now influenced me was staying around the family, learning about him a bit more, even from school and everything. And then he was now putting more of a personality to that person I met. And it was very funny because he's like, oh, wait, is it the same person? He did all this? Oh, that's crazy. So really that's how it was. It was just like unfolding layers to him when he was not even there. So
And the irony, by that time he was gone, isn't it? And the
yeah.
irony was that you were, and the irony, by that time he was
Yeah.
also, yes. I don't know what that opened up for you, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So I often spoke about discovering a distinctively Nigerian voice in modern art. In your music and broader creative journey, how do you bring your Nigerian identity into your work while also reaching a global audience?
Now that I think about it, I think he was probably a very big influence subconsciously for me even doing this. So generally with everything I have done, okay, so my style of music, I do Afro beats, but I have always a touch of other elements. We're talking R&B and some other things. And I try to make something the most unique version that I can think of each genre. I could decide I'm doing rock tomorrow. Every time I ensure it's something I just kind of have had subconsciously at the back of my mind, even with the people I work with. If it's not in the lyrics, it's going to be in the beat. There's always an element of Africa. There's always is it the drums? Is it how I pronounce the lyrics, my articulation? There's always something that just makes you feel like this is Africa, this is Afrobeat. Now, I personally am not, I don't like expressing myself in the most obvious way. So if you hear Afrobeat, there's this sound that'll probably pop in your head. That's not what I try. I try my best not to do that. But I try to make the most unique version of what I can visualize in my head with the producer. So that way, even down to how I am, who I am, what I say, what I stand for in my branding, I ensure there's always an element. In fact, it is a core element to that is leading to Africa and Nigeria.
Because I remember there was a time you thought of building your branding around Badagry, for instance. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I'm from Badagry, and I'm going to confess, I at that time, especially, I had too much about Badagry, but I did a little research here and there, and I realized that there was a lot of history in Badagry, and very few people, even surprisingly, I found out that a lot of people don't know that Badagry is part of Lagos, and it was very funny to me. So, and I've seen very few people advocating for that place, so I really wanted to kind of infuse it to my branding. I wanted people to know that this is me, this is my identity. And ripple effects, that's literally my whole life now. I'm advocating for Badagry, I'm advocating for Lagos, I'm advocating for Nigeria, I'm advocating for the whole Africa as much as I can with my sound, with what I do, and everything entirely. So it's a thing of this is my home, this is my identity, this is my voice, even down to my style, how I dress. So yeah, that's it.
So that's how you bring your Nigerian identity into your work. I know that you're getting ready to go out of the country and there will even be a more global audience at that point. How do you hope to continue to bring that distinctly Nigerian voice in your music and broader creative journey?
There's no me without my African voice. I think if I even have to try to take it out, I will not be me anymore. I will not be able to effectively do music anymore. So it's to be honest, it's become a thing that is not something I even purposely do anymore. It just is there. It's like it's my second nature. So it's not something I can even control. And I love it. In fact, I think I did it to the extent that it became a part of me. So essentially, no matter where I am at, no matter where you put me in the ocean, wherever, you would see that love, you would see that advocacy, you would see that African touch, you see that cultural touch.
Uche Okeke was not only an artist, but also a visionary and innovator. I don't know if you know this.
Yes, yes, I do. Very well.
So, can you tell us anything about that from your viewpoint?
Okay. From my point of view, I'd say being part of the legacy, I've kind of like seen a couple of things that maybe you call people not really part, but seeing how the legacy was unfolding. I saw a couple of things that even maybe not everyone outside would probably have seen, down to his the materials and things like that. And even the different styles of art, the voice he tried to make, I mean, down to the Asela Institute and everything, you can see and tell that he was not just an artist. It wasn't about painting for him. It wasn't about drawing for him. It was really about the culture. It was really about him making a difference. He really was an icon to Africa and Nigeria. Essentially, he showed that his cultural touch, right? For someone as advanced as that, when you talk about them, you probably feel like they have this European touch to them or something like that, having to deal with a lot of people outside the country and everything. But he was true and true to his African heritage.
That's the thing that I'm trying to see if you see the parallels between his role and the responsibilities of young creatives in Nigeria today. He was about the synthesis of tradition and modern. So he was not about what I see some of those similarities between you. He was not about throwing away what innovation comes up, but rooting it in what we already have so that we don't lose our own identity. Is it? He wasn't about dragging people backwards and keeping it exactly as it was. No, it was a progressive thing going on with the global growth and picking what's needed, but then also identifying yourself specifically as coming from where you come, because you cannot necessarily do it like somebody from somewhere else exactly. So do you see the parallels between his role and the responsibilities of young creatives in Nigeria today?
100%. I feel like he put a template, to be honest, for us. There's literally very, very few creatives in my generation that doesn't that's why you said there's a similarity even between my vision and his. But genuinely, I would like to take credit, but there are very few creatives that have been able to find their voice and they are not actively putting their African touch as well as moving with the times. Some people get caught up with moving with the next trend and the times and literally what trends now, and they forget their authentic self. But I think with this generation, is something that because of how much he has been said, how much is on the internet on these things, learning more about your culture with every scroll, depending on your algorithm and all. But there are very few people that don't try to have their African. It's something of pride now because of even how things are going. So essentially, I think really, if you really check it, everyone is kind of following his template. There's the African authenticity. At the same time, with the whole AI evolution and different ways of expressing yourself, aid and everything. There's Mr. Malik. I don't know if you saw the elderly series that he made, where he literally did a fashion show with AI, and he's all over, literally everywhere. And this shows you can see it with the product that it is very African, but at the same time, you can see the infusion of technology in it.
It's quite contemporary, and it's also like a global vision. It's the global audience, and we see it now how the global audience is buying into what we create from this side. It's been an ongoing thing. So we're not like stuck in the past, but we carry authenticity along with the innovation that's out there. A lot of young people are embracing that. Why do you think they are embracing that?
They are finding their identity. We are all finding our identity. This is our identity. Whether we like it or not, whether we like the government situation, whatever, but this is really our identity. Africans are Africans, whether we want to admit it.
But that's the funny thing. We are living in a global village today, and we're not at that time when it's become really, really, really important to say you're from here or you're from there in terms of the global conversation. So why would this still be important today? It's not like in the past when there was the negritude movement in the United States, for instance, and in Africa, there was people, a lot of countries coming out from colonization and all that, and putting a stamp of their own identity on things. A lot of things have changed. I mean, if you're walking the streets of Lagos, it's almost like you're in any other city, really. So why would it be important to people of your generation to continue to build on this authenticity while you are borrowing innovation?
That's what makes us unique. Now, with the internet, with social media, with everything, there are a ton of people doing the same things in the creative space, in everything. And for you to be able to do whatever and to be able to be exceptional in it, you need your identity. If you really check it, even down to companies and everything, there was a time where the brands, the name of the brand, were what made the brands go far. Now it's a thing of the person behind the brand. Check it. That's why social media.
Influencers, is it influencers?
No, not just influencers. So essentially, if you're, it's a new trend. Actually, it's not really a new trend, but it's a thing that people have started really discovering. If you're starting a business or something, every consultant will tell you, depending on your business, people need to see you. People need to see your personality. People don't buy products anymore for the product. They buy it for the story. They buy it for the person behind the product. And for you to be able to do any of those things, there has to be a personality behind. There has to be an identity behind. You can't create music without knowing to an extent yourself. The big picture is really what matters. You can't do anything now without having the big picture. You can't do anything now without knowing your identity at the end of the day. So that uniqueness, where does it come from? It comes from you. It comes from your culture. It comes from your identity. It comes from literally the person behind the brand. Whether it's a physical product or it's your service or it's your creativity, whatever it is. So at the end of the day, it's not something that is loud, but it's your community supporting you. The community has to push you. Your story is pushing you, and you need to be authentic. You can try to fake it and try to make up a story, but people would eventually see that it's not real. Now things are getting a bit more real. It's not just about the branding. It's now about real life.
As we say that today is a global village, the fact that every single little thing is more amplified with the online presence and all that, there's a limit to how you can pretend, isn't it?
Yeah, because eventually it's going to come out. And the internet never forgets. So if you say one thing today and you say something else tomorrow, I promise you, people will find out. People will definitely find out.
And there you are also evolving right there in front of people. And so if you started off on a false note, it's surely going to shoot.
Yeah. Meanwhile, if it's actually an evolution, it piques people's interest. Everybody loves a growing story, a development, a from nothing to something story. Everybody loves that. But if it's, oh, you lied that you were something and you were really nothing, and people are realizing you're nothing, just trying to become something, it's not as nice anymore. You lied. You've lost the trust. Now everything is about trust. It's about how people really see you, how what you put out there. So essentially, you have to be real. You have to know your identity. You have to stand for something.
It's involved research so that you find out what it is that resonates with you as an individual inside what is already there. And so there's a lot more mentorship.
Yes, definitely. Really, it has to do with a lot of reflection. So that's why the research comes in. That's why the mentorship comes in. You have to learn about yourself, your environment, everything that is remotely relating to you or whatever craft you are, you have to learn about it. So now it's easier and it's harder, right? Now, this is where creativity really comes in. And that's why I keep saying creatives are not even just about the artists. Creatives are literally every single person that has a brain product. It's entrepreneurs, it's every single person. Because now you have to know enough to be able to create. You need the material to create with.
So art is not only about creation, but also about circulation and influence. So we've talked quite a lot, but how do you see technology, artificial intelligence, entrepreneurship, and cultural innovation shaping the future of Nigerian art, music, and fashion?
I mean, I think it's already happening. This is something I've heard a couple of times, especially when it comes to the AI and the whole thing of AI replacing jobs and how AI can be dangerous and is a tool. All these technologies are tools. They are tools to aid you get things done faster, better. It still doesn't take away the major thing of your creativity. It doesn't take away the major thing of you actually idealizing something, you actually bringing something to be able to flesh out. All these things are tools. You can tell an AI to write a song for you. I promise you, it's never going to be as good as me writing a song because I am expressing myself. I can't put an AI to express myself for me. And basically, AI is still feeding off what? Data that were created by humans, literally creativity. It can only try to imitate, but it can never create. It can only try to do the math of things. Like it works in ones and zeros at the end of the day. Your mind is your superpower. That's what people don't understand. Nothing can replace that.
Do you think your generation has understood that?
I think a couple people have, but it's a thing of people are learning. It's still new to us. With time, you learn. I mean, you find a lot of artists. I still met one of my friends as an artist, like a visual artist. And I was trying to, me and my other friend were trying to get him to start using AI for some of his stuff. Like, like you're trying to animate. Have you tried AI? Have you tried seeing to what extent this tool can take you? Have you tried seeing how you can make it better? And he was so against it. It was like he was almost fighting it. And guess what? We got him to do it, and he has not been able to stop. He feels like it's a thing of, and this is something I've noticed with artists generally. They feel like it's probably fraud. Like it's like they're cheating their way through things. Like it's too easy. It's taking the fun of having to create it. But the truth is, this is the same thing that happened with Photoshop when it first came out. People didn't want to use it. It was too easy. But now, literally, there's no photographer or whoever that doesn't use Photoshop, right? This is what technology does.
That's really a good analogy.
Next thing is this tool is going to be is going to be part of everybody's lives, and it's is now left to you to know how you use it. Find your expression through it. You don't need to spend, really, we're just cutting down time and bringing more value, essentially. You don't need to spend 5 days to do what you can do in one day anymore.
So tell us about creation being also about circulation and influence.
Okay, so the thing is, art is an expression, creativity is an expression. Creating stuff is literally an expression of your mind, and I think it's pretty simple. How do you want to put any of these things out there without having to distribute it? This is literally what I also meant by when I mentioned using my strategy to give it a direction. A lot of artists, including me in the past, I was so focused, especially when it came to my music. I was so focused on the actual musical creation part of stuff that I never was interested in doing any other thing. I was whether the distribution was I just even want to get the management. The management one. And the truth is the people that are really doing great at it, they know everything about it, down to the distribution. Down to these are the people that understand. I mean, people that understand the algorithm, people that understand, okay, this is what works, this is how you push this. This particular product does better here. As a creative, you are not to be limited. That's the whole point of you being a creative. You should expand every chance you get. So if you need to know the business of your distribution, learn it. If you need to understand the entrepreneurial part of whatever creativity you're into, then learn it.
If you need to use artificial intelligence to amplify yourself, then you learn it. And then the influence, because influence is used quite a bit these days, because whatever you you're coming up with needs to be you need to influence others with that idea or that product or that service. So how do you see influence in the mix of things where creativity is concerned? And mind you, that has been an age-old thing. It's not like it's new. We just have faster ways of circulating and influencing today.
I think it also depends on your end goal. Influence essentially is very, very saturated, to be honest. That's why we have a lot of things, people like influencers. And to be honest, if you really check what they're influencing, I really don't know. But essentially, it's a thing of your idea, your expression. How do you want it to influence whatever? I mean, some people's one is your culture, the society. Some people want to influence their next generation. Some people want to influence their neighbor with their art, or they want to change the narrative of how you should use a brush instead of a pencil. I mean, it depends on, I think honestly, it depends on you, but this is still down to the authenticity.
Do you think it's possible to create without pushing it out there, without influencing people with your creation? You think it is a possibility?
Oh no, I personally think it's a possibility, but the thing is that it's at the end of the day, it's for you and yourself. And then if you now really think about it, then why are you creating? I mean, these are like the real questions behind you saying you're a creative. So you can create stuff. I mean, like I said, it's the birth of your mind. So you've created it, you've made the drawing, you've done whatever, you've done the idealization of the business. But now, what is it? Why is it useful? Why is it in the society? Why is it being done? The whys. This is when all these other elements come in. This is what really puts the value on it. If you bring a random painting to me, and this is why literally you go to exhibitions and there are stories behind paintings, and literally people try to figure out, okay, why is that stroke there? Why is this tree there? What feeling are you getting from it and all that, behind the fact that it looks just cute or nice. Those things really put the value on whatever it is. It is honestly valueless, literally valueless until those things are put on it. So you could be creating, but you'll be creating no value until these things are on it.
So, if you were to design a creative value chain for Nigerian art and entertainment from the first idea to the global stage, well, what would it look like?
I want people to go, with lack of a better word, crazy. I need people to have expressive freedom. I would want people to start thinking outside the box. I want my fellow artists and musicians to be able to have total creative freedom without thinking of any limitation. If I was to redesign it though. After that, I would really want people to buy into more of the idea of collaboration. In the music space, in the business space, in whatever, nobody is your competition. I really am so against that thought process. I know a lot of people might not agree with me, but I would really put collaboration as a very peak thing in whatever career path or industry it is, because we're a community. Whatever we're doing, we're a community, and we're trying to push our creativity, and we can do it together. I don't need to shut down the O2 without the rest of my fellow Nigerian artists. I don't need to do it alone. We are together. My benefit is your benefit, really. So I think that's another thing I would try to ensure that it's also part of the value chain. And lastly, in terms of our globalization distribution, I would want us to not just wait for people outside to help us push our own stories, our own authentic expressions, but I want people to start standing up, fellow Africans start standing up and actively putting effort, getting resources, getting educated to be able to put us on the world map in terms of all forms of expression, whatever it is, whether it's in the business line, the fashion line, whatever industry. I will need every single person to be able to collaborate and distribute our own story in the best way possible. Nobody can do it better than us. Nobody can really push Africa better than the Africans themselves. As the last step, I would make sure there's a form of give back, like people reinvest in their authentic self, in their authentic expression, in their own community, in their own place, literally. So in their own home. whatever that is. It doesn't even have to be a certain country or a certain, but essentially, wherever you're from, wherever has built you to what you are. I want people to actively, whenever they've moved forward, come back and reinvest because that's the only way we can get people to achieve their dreams in the best way possible. Because people just get there and they just forget about coming back. They just get to their vision, their goals, and they never really reinvest. They never really give back. And I think that's something that I would really put as like the end of the cycle, essentially.
You mean at the end of the day, you go back to start the whole circle again, giving more opportunities to people that would enabling more people to be able to follow their dream, so to speak. That's quite interesting. From the first idea to the global stage. And that's funny because if you had studied Uche Okeke, he was very big on collaboration, building bridges and enabling other creatives, irrespective of your genre. And at the same time, he was also ready to work with collaboration that was borderless. Like he would go to Germany and learn the art of stained glass from over there. He had no idea of it before he went there. Those same ideas are still very much alive today. How many generations after? I mean, this year I think he would have been 90 if he were alive. So you can imagine how these ideas are basically the same over the years. Professor Uche Okeke's work emphasized cultural preservation and the passing on of knowledge. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave through your creative and professional journey?
This is another influence that I think he actually gave me that I don't think I mentioned. I really believe in the power of subconscious. Subconsciously, something I kind of like took from him, the whole idea of leaving a legacy. I want to leave a legacy of giving back to my community. I want to leave a legacy of staying true to my authentic self, in my expression, African expression, creative expression, the power of collaboration also. I need people in whatever space to understand that nobody's really fighting with you. We are always, it's better we collaborate than we go against each other. Why do that? And subconsciously, even with all the parts of my own personal life, it has always, even down to when I was in school and you compete for things, positions, like I said, in politics in school. I remember there was a time I was meant to go against someone, and instead of going against and one of us would lose, I literally convinced him to just join my team and two of us could just work together. And that's really what I really want to stand for. I want to stand for giving back. I want to stand for being an advocate for our culture. I mean, really, it's putting back, letting people understand the pride of being an African.
I mean, you're just 22, but then have you started thinking how you would like to build this legacy? Have you thought about it at all? That is your own authentic legacy. Do you have any ideas yet?
I would say my strategy for that now is me. I am my major strategy. A legacy has to start with somebody, the owner of the legacy. Essentially, making a place for myself in the scheme of things in all these industries I'm interested in, making my vision come true for myself is the beginning of my legacy. If I'm able to achieve my vision in the music space, in the business space, and in Africa at large, my legacy has begun. So essentially, my plan for myself and my future is the beginning of my legacy. Just the beginning.
And learning just keeps evolving. If you could ask Uche Okeke one question about art and legacy, what would it be? I mean, let's not say art, let's say creativity and legacy. What would it be, and how would his answer influence your own path?
Creativity and legacy. To be honest, if I had one question, it would be more of a personal question because I'm heavy on people's emotions and understanding how people think really. It's going to be just a simple question of did you really feel fulfilled at the end of the day? Because yes, he put so much out there. He did so much for himself, for his family, for Africa, for Nigeria. But for him as a person, did he feel satisfied? Did all his visions finally come true, or are they still in the works? Is this something he would say he really did live a fulfilled life?
Well, I can help you answer this question to some extent because I did sort of ask him that question back in those days when you were just about 6. I did sort of ask him because I felt like, well, you have stroke, but you can still do some work if you feel like. And then he said he was done. That is what he told me. He said he was done. He had done his life's work. I mean, he had had at least 6 decades of work because just like you, which is really interesting also, he started off early. So he was done. At that time you knew him, he was just happy to see what others were doing. You get it? He had already put in his own work, which was a vision larger than himself anyway, and try to enable others to find their purpose in creativity and help to build them up to be able to, apart from discovering themselves, sustain it. And so when you've done all that and you've had enough time to do it, towards the end, he said his life's work was done. So he was just okay with everything washing over him, looking at what was happening. He was happy to go see what was happening and all that, even if he didn't say anything. But as I do, that he knew, he took in everything that was happening around him. He had finished his work. I think that's a beautiful place to be when what you have set out for yourself, you've done it to the extent that you're satisfied.
That's the plan. That's the plan. Fantastic. Really, I'm so happy.
Yeah, I was surprised myself when I thought normally you would want, it was like you're taking an exam and you would like a little bit more time to see whether you need to write more add more. It's easy to feel like, no, I could do more, but he didn't feel that. Because what we're talking about enabling, actually, he was also the type that allowed people to just evolve, you get. So basically, it's like helping you to discover yourself. You understand? An idea that is his, everybody made it there. There's no question that you would even remember that this is where the idea came from. That was the type he was. He could just sit back and see where all those ideas were headed, because it has to be done by people. If you have a vision, you can't do it alone. There's a work of his that I came across some time ago, and it said the growth of an idea, and you see all the different legs, that kind of thing. It's like a quagmire, but that's it, because you can't do it alone. And there are so many other parts to it, and somebody picks it from here and takes it to an altogether different direction, because everybody has that to their own creativity. So it was quite interesting. So at the end of it all, he was just happy to see what places, maybe he hadn't even thought of those things, that people had taken his idea to, because it had become their idea. So that's the beauty of his kind of vision, and of the way he passed on knowledge by enabling people to understand it any way that is suited them, to make it their idea. I can see the connection with the way you're thinking. I'm sure that this is how it all begins. If you have a mind that enables you to visualize things and think far and think bigger than yourself, I mean, there's no doubt that anybody that's going to be successful has to be thinking of what value they are putting out there, really. Whether you're a creative or you're a scientist, or all the great minds, they have to add something to existence, so to speak. It could be an idea, but whatever it is, it has to add some value, and it has to be larger than yourself. So like you said, the beginning part is that early part where you are evolving yourself and making yourself a tool, and then discovering how you can assist others, and how you can enable others to also find themselves and carry things forward. So before we finish, I invite you to imagine a single moment captured like a lasting artwork or a musical note or a song, and presented to the world as a reflection of your vision and values. In this scene, you're sharing a cup of coffee. Can you describe the setting and the people who are with you, representing the essence of your creative journey and your perspective on life?
I'll make it a painting, actually. It's going to be more in the lines of It's going to be outdoors, I think. It will be outdoors, and I mean, there'll be a lot of trees and people being in their own attires. We're talking black people, white people, every Asians, every little race. And behind me, there's my family and every single person I have loved. It's like a large setting, and then literally everybody with a mug and making a cheers, literally with a smile on all our faces. I think that's really
Wow. In that picture, I see all the things you put first. I see how important family is to you. I see how important community is to you. I see how important collaboration is to you. But then it's an outdoor thing. I didn't know you were an outdoor person.
yes for this.
Have you
Why
evolved into that?
I'm still I think I mostly spend my time indoors because I reflect more. But if I want to relax, my perfect place would probably be a beach or somewhere outdoors that's peaceful, not a party place, but
Then,
serene and peaceful, and I could just stay and take the fresh breeze. And
oh, wow, that's interesting. That brings an image of Badagry to my mind. But I always visualized you as a showbiz guy that would, I mean, of course, I've always known you were somebody that thought deeply. But then I thought you would like restaurants, five-star hotels, that type of thing.
I'll be honest,
Maybe a
all these
boat
things,
cruise.
all those things are still part of me. But with time, as I grow older, it's still part of me that I actually do really recognize and accept. But I'm starting to really understand what I really consider peaceful and what I consider serene. Essentially, my place, my go-to place, because I like a lot of time to reflect and be with myself. Essentially, to think and feel. I enjoy people's company. I love being around people. But at the same time, that space of time you have for yourself to be able to just internalize everything around you is honestly one of the best things that can happen to people, at least in my opinion. Just to be able to feel, breathe properly, like breathe in and breathe out.
Thank you so much, Isaac, for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know how busy you are, to add your voice to our conversation. We wish you all the best as you carry your authentic self to a more global platform, to a more global audience, knowing that you would always remain your authentic self and you will keep evolving. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. Really do appreciate.
Thank you for spending this time with us, dear listener. It has been a real pleasure having Isaac Navide Sai with us today. Be sure to check out other episodes available on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Stay connected for more inspiring conversations right here on Coffee and Uchiokeke.